let's do it. Joker 2. I loved it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I just, like 30 minutes in, I was ready to give a standing ovation. Apparently I'm kind of weird because everyone else hates this movie and thinks it's the worst thing ever. But yeah, I'm being sincere here. This isn't like a contrarian thing. I'm not trying to prove that I'm not like other girls. I'm not trolling or rage baiting. I loved this movie, and I'm going to try to explain why. I'm going to try to get you guys to see it through my childlike eyes, and maybe I can save you angry mother from yourself. Who knows? First of all, can we take a minute to appreciate what a bold and daring move it was to make the movie a musical? You have to think, okay, so Joker originally was probably not meant to have a sequel. It was a weird experiment. Can we take this comic book character and do something totally gritty and down to earth and unlike anything anyone's ever seen before? I mean, it was genius. The first movie was genius. Todd Phillips was literally like, he's like sitting there brainstorming. He's like, okay, what if instead of falling into a vat of industrial chemicals and getting transformed into an insane clown monster, what if Joker was just a guy who got like sexually molested by his mom and then had no social skills and was a total reject from society, and then he snapped and killed people because of that, right? It's brilliant. But they didn't know if it was going to work or not. But it did. It broke box office records. It got like $1 billion plus at the box office, 90% score on Rotten Tomatoes, loved by just about everybody except for a few, weird Antifa style critics who thought it was too incel-y or whatever, but almost universally loved, and made so much money that they were like, okay, people want a sequel. We should give them a sequel. They love this franchise. We're leaving money on the table. This is a very common thing when the success of a project exceeds expectations, you get a sequel. Just like The Platform 2 just came out on Netflix this week, right? But something that has never happened, to my knowledge, in the history of Hollywood was where a movie made a fuck ton of money and then they said, we're going to do a sequel, but we're going to make it a musical this time? What? What? You crazy son of a bitch. Nobody likes musicals. I like musicals. There's a very fringe, very tiny portion of the general public who really likes musicals. And it's so weird to have that tonal shift from like this violent, gritty, psychological thriller to a movie that it's a musical, it's a love story, it's sweet and tender, it's a whole bunch of classic love songs, and it's basically like an homage to Golden Age Hollywood films, when Hollywood films were unapologetically wholesome and carefree and white. It's Gene Kelly singing in the rain. It's Mary Poppins talking about a spoonful of sugar. It's Jasmine and Aladdin singing A Whole New World. It's that kind of thing. And it's great. And it worked. Todd Phillips, you crazy son of a bitch, you actually pulled it off. And I want to talk about the song choices here for a minute, because the song choices were impeccable. They were brilliant. It starts off, before the movie starts, you have Joker, like an animated little mini featurette before the main feature. And he's singing What the World Needs Now. And it's not really, I don't consider that part of the movie. It was okay, but it was whatever. I didn't care about that part. The movie starts, and 20 minutes in, you get the first actual musical number. And so what has happened in the first 20 minutes is he's met Harley Quinn. He's at Arkham Asylum, right? Because he was like put there after murdering all the people. He meets Harley Quinn. They have a little talk. She's into him. And then he's back in the prison section, and they're watching Harvey Dent on TV. And he's like, yeah, we're going to seek the death penalty. And the guards are like, hey, Arthur, they're going to fry you. How do you feel about that? Are you scared? And the inmates are like, yeah, are you scared? Tell it. And he's like deep in thought, like he's trying to decide how he feels about this. And then he's like, for once in my life, I have someone who needs me. Classic. American Standard, Frank Sinatra, Stevie Wonder, just a great song. And they did something really interesting from a musical standpoint with this movie. They did something that's never really been done before. See, traditionally in a musical, when people start singing, everyone's singing. Every member of the cast is like part of the chorus. There's music playing. It's just like spontaneous song. It's obviously not realistic, but that's the magical rules of how life works in a musical. But in this one, they came at it a little bit different. The only people in the whole movie who sing are Phoenix and Gaga, Joker and Lee, Arthur and Lee. And when they're singing, there is instruments playing, but it's heavily implied. It's my opinion, having watched the film, that they're only hearing those instruments in their own heads and nobody else is hearing them. And everybody is looking at this motherfucker like, this nigga is singing. What the fuck? What is he doing? You know? I mean, for that first number though, the Once in My Life, he's with the inmates, and the inmates are kind of like, they enjoy the spectacle because they're psychopathic retards. So they're kind of like clapping along or whatever. But it's heavily implied that this is just a mentally ill guy breaking into spontaneous song, and everybody else is like, and you're hearing the music in his head, but the people in the movie aren't. And it works really well because these characters are mentally ill, you know? So it was like a really cool idea, a really cool approach. Now, I also want to take a minute to talk about how amazing Joaquin Phoenix's performance is. Just absolutely stellar. He's so skinny and freakish looking. Was that makeup? How did they do that? He looks like seriously unwell with his bones sticking out and all that shit. Even more freakish than the first movie. But the singing, which is what this movie is about, the performances of the musical numbers, okay? It's this amazing tension where he sings well, he sings in tune, he sings clearly, but he is simultaneously conveying like the insecurity and the meekness and the raspy brokenness of the character. And that's something that's not easy to do. Singing well is difficult to begin with, but singing well while conveying that you're broken and insecure is super hard. And that brings me to the next musical number, which was my favorite part. This is where I fell in love with the movie. So he goes to give an interview, a live television broadcast with this guy who's basically another Murray type character, right? Basically another guy who's like, let's bring on the freak show and get good ratings. And the plot of this movie doesn't matter at all. It's totally irrelevant. It's about the characters and the musical numbers and the performances. But the main plot that's going is that Joker is like deciding if he's going to like say that he's this mentally ill guy who the system failed. Like that's his lawyer's approach. Like, oh, CPS didn't believe you when you told them your mother was abusing you. The whole system failed you and it led to a psychotic break. If he's going to do that, or if he's going to be like, no, I'm the Joker. I'm this bigger than life maniac who's going to burn it all down and make you normies pay, right? That's the kind of internal conflict that he's deciding on. He's talking to this TV interviewer and he's kind of going the lawyer's path. But then the TV reporter's like, oh, I just want to hear about the murders. Like, what were you thinking when you blew Murray's brains out and all that? And Joker gets agitated and he's like, you don't care, but you don't want to know how I've changed. You don't want to know what's different about me. And the guy's like, okay, what's different? And he's like, I have someone now. And the guy's like, oh yeah, Lee, because Lee has been out there campaigning for him, trying to turn him into this mythical figure amongst the crazies of Gotham, right? And he's like, don't you think it's all a bit much? And Joker, again, he looks down, pause, like he's deep in thought, and then he starts to sing. She's a fool, and don't I know it? But a fool can have her charms. So you see what I'm talking about? You hear the meekness of the character in the song, but it's also a beautiful song. And you know, the guy, he's like keep rolling, like this thing is singing. This is exactly the kind of like psycho shit we were hoping for. But this song is so good, it's swell. And I was like, I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh, this is familiar. This song is familiar, but I can't quite place it. Lately, I have not slept a wink. And you listen to the strings and the composition, the arrangements are amazing because they're doing the same thing that the movie is doing, which is balancing this tension between love and beauty and happiness and all that is good and wholesome in the world with the dark underside. And you hear that in the strings. If you listen, you hear the kind of tension there, the somewhat harmonious tension there to convey that. You hear that? There's a tension there. Beguiled again. I recognize the song. I was like, oh yeah, Bewitched. I remember this. Now the song keeps building and it swells into this amazing part towards the end. I'm going to play a little bit more for you. I'm going to skip ahead.
She can laugh and I love it. Although the laughs on me.
She can laugh and I know it, although the laughs on me. There's another line in the song where he's like, she's a little cold. And those are the actual lyrics of the song, right? It's interesting how well the lyrics fit in with this like clown theme that they have going, the laughs on me. There's another song later in the movie called The Joker where he's like, there's a Joker in every crowd and it's me, or whatever. And I didn't recognize that song. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's like an actual original composition for the movie because it fits so well. Looked it up after and it's like a 1968 song called The Joker by some soul singer. It's just funny how well those songs fit. And you got like Send in the Clowns in the first one and stuff like that. But anyway, here comes the part that made me fall in love. Like, listen to this, okay? Fucking amazing, man. And Harley, she's watching, she's on a street in one of the, like watching like a store where there's TVs in the window, this broadcast. And so it cuts to her and she like touches the glass and starts singing along. Very tender, very romantic, touching, unironically, legitimately touching moment, which the movie is kind of chock full of. But that, the way he sings that, it got stuck in my head. I'll sing to her, bring spring to her, and long for the day when I cling. It's so fucking good. I looked it up after and listened to it, and they've posted it on YouTube, the whole soundtrack. So I was listening to it a couple times over the last couple days. Yesterday, I go to the gym before church. I do my workout, and then I'm on the hydro massage, and I decide to listen to it again, Bewitched from Joker 2. And it gets to that part, and I accidentally started singing out loud. I'm like, I sing a few and I'm like, whoa, what the fuck am I doing? I'm in public right now. You can't just start singing. That has never happened to me before in my life. I've sung outside, sure, when no one's around, or I've sung in front of people when I was willing to embarrass myself like I did just now for you guys, but I've never accidentally embarrassed myself by getting swept up in a song and forgetting where I was and just singing. First time in my life that's ever happened. So I just thought it was amazing. I was moved. I felt things I haven't felt since high school. I loved it. I was moved. I was touched. And then you guys are over there and you're like, this fucking sucks actually, and I hate it. What? Okay. First of all, okay, Siskel and Ebert, calm down. I understand musicals are not for everyone, right? I get that. Not everybody's going to like all the singing and that. I get it. But why are you angry? Why do you hate this movie? Why are you going to be mad that I don't hate it like you do? Why are you going to be mad at me? And you're like, well, because the reason the movie sucks is intentional because Todd Phillips hates me. And so he made this $200 million movie really shitty on purpose so that I wouldn't enjoy it. And that's why I'm angry. I've been personally targeted and attacked by Todd Phillips and his shitty movie. Riddle me this, Batman. Hey, Batman, riddle me this. If the movie intentionally sucks, then why is it so fucking good? That doesn't make any sense. Hey, genius, if this movie is a humiliation ritual and a demoralization campaign because Hollywood hates you, why is it so fucking awesome? Why does it rule? Can you explain that part to me? No, you can't. I have to say something. Okay, you guys aren't going to like this, but I have to get this off my chest, okay? Most of you people wouldn't know good art from your own assholes, right? That's the long and the short of it. That's what it all boils down to. That's it. That's the story. You'd probably be more comfortable watching Fast and the Furious 27 or Saw 36. You want graphic displays of gratuitous violence. You want a spectacle. What is all this singing? What's all this feelings and love stuff? You're not ready. That's fine. That's fine. But that's just what it is. Most of you Philistines wouldn't know the difference between great art and your own little puckered assholes. Okay? It had to be said. Now let's talk about Lady Gaga for a minute. She was perfectly cast in this. She knocked it out of the park. She was amazing. And I say this as somebody who's not a fan of Lady Gaga, right? I tried to watch the American Horror Story where it's like the vampire hotel and she was in it. And I couldn't watch it. I stopped after like a couple episodes because I just thought it was bad. And I wasn't at all impressed with Lady Gaga. But that was years and years ago. And I think that was probably one of her first forays into acting. So she's had a lot of time since then to, hone her skills, work on her chops. And it seems like she's done just exactly that. When they announced her that she was going to be Harley, everybody on Twitter was mad. Everybody was saying like, oh, well, why not Margot Robbie? Oh, wow. Fucking brilliant, man. The chick who's played Harley Quinn in 2 other movies or more. I don't know how many, but in like an alternate Joker DC universe. Wow. Thank you, Mr. Casting Director. Margot Robbie. Brilliant. Or like, why not Scarlett Johansson? And it's like, look, they're good actresses. They would have done a fine job, but Lady Gaga was perfect for this role. And the reason she was perfect is because unlike those other actresses, she is not exactly conventionally attractive. She's actually kind of weird looking. It's almost off-putting. It's almost like Uncanny Valley when you're looking at her from some angles. You're like, is that a person or is that a replicant? Why does she look kind of funny? Why is something kind of off? And that worked really well for this character. But what's really important here is that despite being kind of weird looking, she is capable of being extremely charismatic. So there's all these little tender moments where she's flirting with Arthur. She's making like coy goo eyes at him. And you're like, yeah, well, I'm into it. When is it my turn? When do I get a borderline girlfriend? When do I get a crazy borderline girlfriend to call my own? Yeah, there's just something sweet and charming about her, very endearing. But also there's this sinister underside, of course. And that brings us to the next song in the movie, which is Harley Quinn sings Close to You to Arthur. Now, you guys know I like this song. I used it as an intro not too long ago, but what you don't know is that this is actually like one of my favorite songs of all time. It's one of my 2 go-tos that I sing to my young children as lullabies because I love this song so much. So I sing this to my kids when they're babies, and Lady Gaga, she achieves the same kind of thing that Joaquin Phoenix does, which is singing well, but also conveying the brokenness and what have you of the character. There's the tension again.
Why do birds suddenly appear?
And then later in the song, Joker starts doing the backup vocals. Girls in town, follow me all around. So I love this song. I love the backup vocals, and it gets to this part, and I'm like going like this. I'm rocking back and forth. I'm having the time of my life. I'm like, wow, this is so good. And I look around the theater, and there's a big audience, right? There's a big audience, and probably the biggest one I've seen since COVID. And nobody else is like moving or into it. I'm the only one like dancing in my chair. And I kind of like I already knew it, but that really solidified this feeling I had, which was like, oh, this is an amazing movie, but it's not going to appeal to most people. Most people aren't going to have the same kind of reaction that I'm having. And that was confirmed later on when there's kind of two scenes in the movie. There's Arkham Asylum, and then there's the courthouse where he's having his trial, and he's shuttled back and forth. And there's a scene where he's being taken to the courthouse in the police car, and there's a song playing on the radio. And this is not a musical number of the film. This is just like a top 40 commercial radio song. And the song that plays is Dancing in the Moonlight. Dancing in the Moonlight. You know that one? And I see all the people, like all the chicks in the audience start dancing as soon as that comes on. I don't know if you know this, but chicks love that song because it's in the movie A Walk to Remember. And chicks love that movie. And so again, it's like I had this almost like meta experience watching the movie where it's like, oh, I'm Arthur Fleck right now. I'm the weirdo who doesn't fit in. I'm the outcast. Nobody understands me. And I have a kind of a contempt for all these normies who don't know the difference between a moving musical number and a commercial radio song that they've heard 1,000 times in their life. So I'm not surprised that people didn't like the movie. I get it, but I'm gonna make a prediction here, which is that this movie is gonna do better at the Oscars than people expect. I think Best Picture is definitely on the table. I think Best Actor is on the table, although it's going to be hard because he already won Best Actor for Joker 2019. And that's never happened in the history of Hollywood where somebody won Best Actor for a reprised role for which they had already previously won Best Actor. People like to be fair and share the wealth around. So, oh, he already got his. Let's give it to somebody else. So he might not win. But if he doesn't win, he's robbed. There's absolutely nobody who gave a better performance in a film this year than Joaquin Phoenix. And it's also going to be a little hard for him because he backed out of that gay movie this year. And we know how the Academy types feel about, whoa, why didn't you want to do the gay movie, Joaquin? What's up with that? So it's going to be a tough sell, but I think it's on the table and I'd love to see it happen. And the reason I think it is going to do well at the awards is because this movie is made for people like that. This movie is made for theater kids, and specifically theater kids who have a fondness for that kind of golden age. You know, like I said, the Mary Poppins, that kind of that. You don't get that anymore. You don't get that kind of just carefree, wholesome Sound of Music type thing. You don't get, because you guys don't want it. You people don't. You want Saw 36 and Fast and the Furious. And so Hollywood is just giving you what you want. When they give you something like this, you're like, oh, this sucks. This is boring. Oh, it's so boring. So it's your fault, you know. If Mary Poppins came out tomorrow, you would be like, this sucks. Maybe not, but you'd be like, this is corny. I'm not watching this. I want to watch scenes in Game of Thrones or whatever. So that's what it is. But those people who vote in the Academy, they are like the target audience for a movie like this. So I think it may exceed expectations at the Oscars, despite not a very good box office or critical reception. Now, I want to circle back around to why people don't like this movie. I get it. You want to see Arthur Fleck develop into this archetypal anti-hero, this bigger than life character. You want to see his transformation. You want him to win. You want Arthur to win. You want him to escape the hangman's noose. Maybe he sails off into the sunset with Lee. Maybe he becomes a criminal crime boss of Gotham, a mastermind, always 2 steps ahead of the police. And you want to see how he gets from A to B. I understand that. part of me wanted to see that as well. That's again what's so brilliant about this movie and these characters is they're like objectively horrible people, but you're kind of still rooting for them a little bit. There's something relatable. We've all, or most of us, have probably felt bullied at some point in our lives, so we can relate. And we're rooting for him, but you don't get that. Arthur does not win in the movie. He loses. So I understand people are disappointed about that. But in terms of being angry because, Todd Phillips did this to humiliate me. It's like, first of all, that's kind of weird. So I'm going to do the big spoilers now. So if you don't want to hear the big and ending spoilers, back out now. But Arthur eventually, he doesn't really go with the I'm insane or I'm the Joker path. He kind of chooses this middle ground of like, he confesses to the jury, like, I'm Arthur Fleck. I'm just kind of a broken little man. I did what I did and I'm responsible for it. Lady Gaga's disgusted. She walks off. There's a jailbreak at the courthouse. They get him out and he's free. And he goes to find Lee at the staircase and she's there and she dumps him. She's like, you killed the dream. This isn't what it was supposed to be. She walks off. It's over, Arthur. I don't want to sing anymore. He says all that stuff. It's sad. It's heart wrenching. Then he gets rearrested. He's back at Arkham. He gets gang by the prison guards. There's not actually a gang scene for what it's worth. It is simply heavily implied that that's what they do to him. And then he's murdered. He gets stabbed to death by another psychopathic inmate who you saw in the background of some of the scenes, but like never had any lines or anything. We don't even know what his name was. He comes up and he stabs Arthur to death at the end of the movie. So, and then you see that and you're like, wow, Todd Phillips wants me ganged and murdered. It's like, wait, what? How did you get there? Again, I understand being a little bit disappointed that he didn't develop into this supervillain anti-hero type, but why are you taking it so personally? That's kind of weird, dude. Arthur Fleck's not the best guy around. You know, he's a piece of shit, and he's basically a retard. He's basically a retarded piece of shit. He doesn't know how to socialize with people. He doesn't know what's funny, even though he's devoted his life to being a comedian. He's kind of fucking stupid. So again, the idea that he would become this like 2-step ahead of the police, crazy capers and plans that he pulls off like the comic book Joker, it's not in keeping with the character. And you might think, okay, he's a piece of shit, but those people kind of deserve to die. Like his mom was abusing him. The guys at the subway were bullying him. The other guy was a bully. And it's like, even if that's true, Murray didn't deserve to die. Murray was not physically abusing anyone. He was just kind of an asshole. And so are you, by the way. You're actually more like Murray than the Joker. That's the thing. So it's this weird hypocrisy where you're identifying with Joker, but you're actually Murray. And by identifying with the Joker, you're the one who's like saying, I deserve to get murdered like Murray. How am I like Murray, you're saying? And it's like, well, look, man, YouTube is full of channels who find these freak shows on the internet, these lol cows, and they bring them on or they make a video and you sit there and you watch. And I know you do because I make that shit and you've been watching it and you've been enjoying it. So what, do I deserve to have my brains blown out? Should Jay Rockefeller hunt me down and blow my brains out because I brought him on Sex Wars so everyone could see how kind of weird and off he is? I don't think so. That's a deep cut, by the way. Only real I Hypocrite fans will remember Jay Rockefeller. But point is, yeah, sure, I'm a bit of an asshole, but do I deserve to have my brains blown out? No. Nobody made Arthur do anything he didn't want to do. Nobody forced him to go on the TV show. He wanted to do it, and then he was mad when he figured out they were just there to make fun of him. And then going back to the murder thing, people are like, oh, well, this is a humiliation ritual. And it's like, first of all, it was well established in the first movie that he was sexually abused by his mom, and you loved that movie. So it's a little bit weird how you're like, yeah, this guy was sexually abused by his mom and he's my favorite character ever, but a gay gangbang? Whoa, this is where I draw the line. What the fuck are you doing? That's gross. That's a little bit weird. But more importantly than that is just the fact that the entire ethos of this Joker project from start to finish was to give a relatively realistic depiction, a relatively plausible way that this person could live in real life. And in real life, when you pull an Elliot Rogers and you're a social reject who can't make friends and you snap and you go murder a bunch of people, in real life, there's only 3 ways that ends. Number 1, you blow your own brains out. Number 2, the cops do it for you when they're trying to arrest you. Number 3, the cops arrest you, you go to jail, you get and then you die in prison. That's it. Those are the way that it works in real life. You don't become a criminal mastermind, kingpin, cult leader figure adored by a bunch of psychopaths. That's not real life, you guys. And the whole ethos of this series was to be like, let me make it realistic. Let me make it plausible. So what these conspiracy theories about Todd Phillips hates me and he just wanted me to be pissed off, they don't track because it makes perfect logical sense that it would end this way. That's basically it. I love the movie unironically. As you guys know, I do a call-in show on Saturdays. If you want to call in and explain to me what I'm missing and how I'm wrong, please do it. For once, I always try to get people who disagree to call in. They never do. Why don't you call in so I can ask you why you took it personally that he was killed? I want to understand. I'm open-minded. I'm willing to listen. Hey, what up, family? I'm a ding dong. It is I, your boy LP, and the clip you just watched is from my live stream show, The Daily Cope, which I do 4 to 5 times a week on Rumble, Odyssey, and my other YouTube channel. I will link all of them below if you want to check it out. And thanks for watching. Hope you're having a great day, and I will catch you on the flip side. Peace out.